Yeah, what I like about this is like it's actually, I mean, if your question is the decision making, why don't you make that as a main? So that's what I felt when I read the paper, which is the wonderful perspective you're bringing in terms of people trying to use these models is like put your food mouth where the food is, like exactly try to be on target about what your actual outcome would be used for, which is wonderful. And I mean, it's a frontier article, so people who are potential readers and PhD students out there, it's a very good article to get started about this. So for those kinds of readers, can you give a more high level perspective on why is this area important? Why is this? How is this frontier article contributing towards that? And how would it benefit for someone who has not read the paper to start reading this?
I think personally for me, and it relates to what you just said before, I think it's really important to understand the application for which you are developing the models, right? And so causal effect models can be like very general because you could use it for decision making, to understand a phenomenon for a bunch of different reasons, right? But the perspective that the article is bringing, as you said, is if at the end of the day, the models are going to be used for decision making, then you should evaluate and build them with that purpose in mind, right? And in our particular case, we are talking about causal decision making, but there could be many other applications that don't have to do with directly optimizing for the decisions in an automated way. For example, it could be that the effects are being used to understand, to understand how to identify subpopulations, right, that are for which the treatment is particularly effective, right? And so you should build methods specifically designed for that in mind, right? And so I think bringing up that perspective should be useful for people that are trying to come up with their own methods as well.
Yeah. I think another thing, by the way, that is, I mean, you really have to dig into the, you really have to dig into the details or have like a lot of experience, I guess, to kind of think about this naturally, right? The thing that we are estimating or predicting, the quantity that we're estimating or predicting, is not the same as the decision that we are making, right? And we confound this all the time in our discussions, in our books, in our research papers. But when you go out there and you're actually helping businesses or other organizations make decisions using data science, you have to make this distinction, I'm sorry, right? And so that I think is, I mean, we're making this distinction specifically with respect to those decisions that are trying to have a causal effect. By the way, this distinction is important, even if it's purely sort of a predictive thing. That's just not the topic of this paper.